Okay, this is going to be a demonstration on one-point perspective on drawing a cityscape for my 7th and 6th graders, okay? So I have my paper, my pencil, an eraser, and my ruler, okay? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my horizon line. I like to have my horizon line towards the top of my paper because it provides me with ample ground space to draw my buildings, okay? So I just added a horizontal line to show my horizon line. Now I can always change this if I need to. Okay, now I'm going to choose somewhere in the sky region of my paper where I'm going to put my vanishing point. Now, I'm going to make my point fairly large so that way we can see it, but normally we don't need to make it super big, okay? So I'm going to put my vanishing point over here. Okay, it's just a dot. It's not huge, it's temporary. This is darker than what I would draw it if I was just going to draw a cityscape for myself, but I want you to be able to see it. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw my first building. Okay, for my assignment I have to have at least 4 buildings if I'm a 6th grader and 5 buildings if I'm a 7th grader. So I need to think about that, okay? So I'm going to start over here. I'm going to draw my rectangle for the front of my building, okay? I'm using my ruler. I'm using darker pencil lines than what I would if I was drawing this for a final product, just so that way you can see them, okay? I'm drawing my rectangle. Okay, I'm taking my time, making it nice, okay? So I have my rectangle. My lines are a little long, just gonna get rid of that. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my vanishing point. I wanna find the 3 corners that are closest to my vanishing point. I am making a building. My building is not see-through. Therefore, I'm not going to use all 4 corners because my building takes up space. It's not an ice cube. It's not a glass brick. It's a building, okay? So I'm going to select my top 2 corners because 90% of the time I'm going to use both of them, okay? I'm going to put a little mark and I'm going to select my bottom. I'm right-handed. It's my right hand. My vanishing point's over on the right. My bottom right corner, okay? If your vanishing point's on the left, then you're probably going to select the left vanishing point, okay? Take my ruler, and I'm going to line up my corners with my vanishing point. Now, depending upon where your vanishing point is in relationship to your building, it might look different than what mine does. That's okay. We're just going to follow the same process. Line up to my vanishing point. It does not matter which one of these I start with as long as I get all 3 of them done. Line up, taking my time, lining it up nice and neat, and drawing my line to my vanishing point. Taking my time, lining up my ruler with my corner, and lining up with my vanishing point. So I'm drawing from the corner to the vanishing point each time, okay? If I am not lined up where my vertical line here and my horizontal line intersect, or where it creates that corner, it just throws everything else off. So we might as well just take our time the first time around and get it lined up. Now, for me personally, I like to start with my side of my building, saying this is how far back my building goes into space. For me, it's easier if I start with the side than if I start with the top and say, hey, this is how far back the top goes. That's a personal preference. If you like to do the top of your building first and then the side of your building, still works. My preference is to do the side first, okay? Remember, my horizon line says this is the ground and this is the sky. So think about that when you're deciding how long your building is, because that's going to depend on where the ground is, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line my ruler up with this vertical line here so that way I can make a parallel line. Remember, vertical lines need to be parallel. So I'm going to line it up with the line I've already drawn. I'm just going to slide it. I'm not going to pick it up. I'm just going to slide it towards my vanishing point. I'm going to go, oh, this is how big I want my building. And I'm going to draw between the 2 corners of that vertical line, okay? During class, I had you label this as line number 1, and this is line number 2, okay? So I drew my next vertical line in between my diagonal lines labeled as line number 1 and line number 2 to show this is how far back in space my building goes. This is the end of my building. Now, I need to make a second parallel line. Okay, this one's going to be horizontal. It's going to be at the top of my building. So, I'm going to line my ruler up, this time horizontally. My building needs to end where this line that I just drew, this vertical line that I just drew, intersects with line number 2. Okay, so that's where line number 2, that's where this horizontal line needs to stop, between line number 2 and line number 3. Okay, so I'm just going to line it up. I'm going to slide it up to where it intersects with that vertical line I just drew, and then I will go from where it ends at line number 2 and take it to line number 3. And that is my building. Now, I can erase my extra lines. Now remember, I told you I drew my lines harder than I normally would. Okay? Light lines make it easier to erase. How do I draw light lines? You don't apply as much pressure with your pencil. So I'll erase this. Okay, neatly. I'll erase my horizon line that runs through my building neatly. And I will start again. I will always keep the same vanishing point, but be it I have 1 building, 5 buildings, 57 buildings, doesn't matter. Same point, always. In the next video, I will show you how to turn this rectangle into a building.